Hello everybody, it's Braden here with the Storm Chasers, just coming to you with a new weather video for today. This is a little bit different of a weather video though. We are going to be going over our winter forecast for 2025-2026 here. We're going to be going over our sea surface temperatures. We're going to be going over monthly precip and monthly temperature outlooks. And then we're going to be going over some of our maps and some of the different analysis that we have to look into whether this winter is going to be a gnarly one with bitter cold and lots of snow, or if it's going to be a mild one like the last few years that we had. Last year, in Sioux Falls, we only got 16 inches of snow at the airport from the 1st of July all the way till April, the end of April. So we are going to be looking into if we're going to top that or if we're going to stay around that region. I do believe, I'm just going to give you a little sneak peek here, that we are going to be over 15 inches, but we're going to save that for the rest of the video. And the first thing that we're going to hop into is our sea surface temperatures here. So this is a very, very important thing when it comes to our winter. And you might be saying, why does the sea surface temperatures have anything to do with our winters? Well, it has a lot to do with all of our weather patterns, actually. We have one thing here. If you guys can see this kind of wave pattern down here, this is ENSO. This is the El Nino Southern Oscillation. And what that is kind of like a spinning pool out here with hot and cold water. And there's two things. There's called El Nino and La Nina. They're different types of the oscillation here, and right now we are in a weak La Nina. And now what we really want for our winters, if we want a lot of snow, we want a lot of cold weather, we want a neutral phase. But the thing is with this La Nina right now is that we are in a weak La Nina, so we are as close as we can get to end zone neutral. So that is one of our signs here. So we also have a very warm pool of water out here towards China, out towards Australia, over by Japan, and then cooler temperatures up to the north here, like on the coast of Russia, and then on the coast of Canada, and on the coast of Alaska. So one of the things is also that we have a little bit of warmer water, and this is a little bit warmer than usual up here towards the west coast of the United States. Now, one of the things that we were going to watch out for, or we are going to watch out for, is that this pattern keeps going, right? But we also have this warmer water up here that I just circled. And what that does is it tilts the jet stream up here, and then we'll have the jet stream coming through. It tilts the jet stream up, feeds the warm air through the jet stream, and all of this cold air up here in the Arctic needs a place to go. So what that does, and it shoots that cold air right down, right over us, and then into the eastern United States. So one of the things that we're going to be watching out for this winter is Arctic blasts in the central and eastern United States. There's going to be very much a temperature fluctuation with this winter. There's going to be days where it's right about normal, 30 to 40 degrees, and then the next day it'll be below zero. So that is one of the things that we have to watch out for our sea surface temperatures. This is our past 7 days that over the sea surface temperatures, the past 7 day change. And as you guys can see there, darkening blue out there in the ENSO region, and that is just signaling to us that the La Nina is getting a little bit stronger. It's not getting much stronger at this point, but it is getting a little bit stronger. We also have some cooling out here just to the north of the Philippines and Papua New Guinea, and just off the coast of Japan there. And then we also have some warming up here towards the west coast of the United States, and that will help set up that ridge that will keep feeding us cold air throughout the winter. And the thing is with these ridges, they set up and they stay for a long time. This isn't just a one day, 2 day quick system type thing. These ridges set up and they set up for a long time because it takes a while for waters to warm and it takes a while for waters to cool off, especially in major bodies of water like the oceans. Another thing we're going to look at here is the sea surface temperature anomaly difference from the global mean sea surface temperatures. So, like I said earlier, that darkening there, and then also this huge warm pool up here in off the coast of the western United States, and that is our main key. We need to keep this warm pool up here if we want any chance at getting those polar vortexes and those Arctic blasts and all of that snow. If you like really, really decent winters, I know all of the guys that have snow businesses and have to deal with that type of stuff. They want this. They are praying for this so that they can get their business up and going for the winters. So I'm praying for you guys, but right now, that warm pool right there is a good sign for all you snow lovers out there. So this is our graph that we're going to be looking at here. This is the CDAS Nino 3.4 index, and this is El Nino EN up here. So this is the positive tilt up here, and then this is the negative tilt for La Nina. And we, as of July went through, we went down, and then we came back up through August, and then we just keep going up and down and up and down. And a few days ago, we actually were looking at a full El Nino after a little nosedive, but it has been steadily coming back up a little bit. I do expect this to kind of settle around that 0.5, in between that 0.5 to 0.0 range, just below neutral. So a good thing for snow lovers out there right now. And then this is the temperature anomaly based off of regular climatology, and just it's pretty much shown the same out here, that La Nina pattern, the warm pool up here. And then another thing that we have to look at is if this warm pool stays out here, we will have kind of a zonal flow, and that is not a good thing. But this pool has been just getting knocked out over the past month or so. This has kind of showed up over the past 2 weeks, starting to cool off, and by late October, early November, I expect those to go out the window and kind of turn into more of that zero stage, in between that 0 to 0.8 stage, which would allow us to set up that ridge and shoot that cold air through the United States here. So another thing that we have is the Climate Prediction Center released an outlook here. Enso neutral continued in August 2025 with near to below average sea surface temperatures observed across the central and eastern equatorial Pacific region. So that is right in here. The latest weekly Nino SST index values range from negative 0.4 degrees Celsius to negative 0.2 degrees Celsius. So this is a little bit off. We are around that 1.2 to 2 region now. Negative subsurface temperature anomalies strengthened with below average temperatures prevailing from the surface to 200 meters depth in central and eastern Pacific. Low-level wind anomalies were easterly across most of the equatorial Pacific, while upper-level wind anomalies were westerly over the western and eastern equatorial Pacific. So that pretty much means at the surface, winds are moving this way, and up top, the winds are moving that way. Convection was enhanced over Indonesia and was suppressed near the dateline. Collectively, the coupled ocean atmosphere system reflected the continuation of Enso neutral, and that was just about 3 weeks ago when they released that. But there is a caveat to that. The IRI multi-model predictions slightly favor an Enso neutral through the northern hemisphere winter 2025-2026. However, all available models from the North American multi-model ensemble favor La Nina to emerge and persist through the winter. Based on this guidance and recently observed trends across the surface and subsurface equatorial Pacific, the team also favors La Nina to develop, and that is from the Climate Prediction Center La Nina team, or ENSO team. In summary, a transition from ENSO neutral to La Nina is likely within the next couple of months, with a 71% chance of a La Nina during October to December. La Nina is favored, but chances decrease to 54% in December through February. So that would favor more of a weak La Nina ENSO neutral, like I was just saying. And like I was saying, for you snow lovers, that is a very good thing for you guys. Now, enough of that talk about our sea surface temperatures. I bet that was getting a little bit boring. We are going to move over to our 2-meter temperature anomaly. So now what this is our month-to-month temperature outlook from Weatherbell and the CFS. CFS is a model run that we use to forecast month to month, especially in the winter time for these winter forecasts, because it is very, very, very good tool, and it is pretty accurate. I will say that much. It predicted our last 3 winters pretty darn well, and I believe that it will help us predict this winter pretty well as well. So we're starting off in October 2025 here. So, because we are at the end of September, of course, as you guys can see here, we have a warm pool here in the Midwest and over into Canada. We have below average temperatures for parts of the southern states into Mexico, and then also below average temperatures in California and parts of the Pacific Northwest there. So as we move along here into November here, we'll start to become below average. And as you guys can see here, we have all this warm air being pumped up here and pushing this cold air down here. There is that ridging setup here starting to set up. This is kind of going to be the tale of 2 different winters though, because as we move along, it will start to get cold, but this is where it gets really cold. We'll see about average to just below average temperatures for the beginning of our winter. And then as we push into January, we get cold. As you guys can see, all of this is normally Arctic air. This is now in parts of Canada and will push through the central regions of the United States here, including our area here in South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, and North Dakota. So we could see temperatures get really, really cold, and it will be a kind of a wandering winter here throughout the rest of the winter. As you guys can see, that ridge kind of just pushes off here, and then we have temps moving straight south. And as you guys can see, we are very much below average here in the tri-state area at least. And then also we have those below average temperatures in Montana and parts of Canada, and that will continue. But the south here receiving above average temperatures. So if you do want to go on vacation to get away from this cold, if the winter blues have got you down, there you go. Towards March, we'll start to become more above average, but as we get into April, again below average. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some April snowstorms this year. And as we get into May, it's going to be below average again to start our summer. So below average temperatures to start the summer, and below average for pretty much January all the way up till March, and then April and May. March is going to be our only month that we are going to be consistently above average. And that's the thing with this. This isn't like a day-to-day thing. Like we're going to see, oh, this day is going to be way above average, and then this day is going to be way below average. That's not how this works. This is a cumulative like addition of all of the days combined, and then averages it out over a month time span and kind of calculates how below average are we going to be. So what we're going to be looking at now is our QPF, so quantitative precipitation forecast. Now, this tells us how much rain or snow are we going to get. This is just precip, this is all of it combined. Now we're going to look at it month to month. October, we're going to be below average here. This is kind of a bit normal for our Octobers. We're kind of below average. We're in that fall-esque season here, and we're going to be just harvesting and everything like that. So, you know, keep it dry for the farmers so they can get their harvesting in, which is a nice thing. As you guys can see here, we're going to be a little bit below average with our precip on the eastern side of the state, and then pretty much when you get to the river, you get a little bit above average right in there over towards the western parts of the state. So we'll move on to our November here. We're slightly below average here in the Sioux Falls area and in southeastern South Dakota, but as you guys can see, we have those strips of above average moisture and then also above average moisture in the northern parts of the state of South Dakota. Moving into our December, we all here in the state of South Dakota move above average for our precip. So a little bit more snow than usual is possible. And then January and February, in March, we keep above average. And then in April, we see most of the central parts of the United States into the Midwest and into the South, especially there in Texas, get above average precip. Now I'm going to switch it over to a cumulative run here, try to mix it out here. So October, November, December, that is kind of our fall to beginning of winter months. The eastern side of the state stays a little bit drier than normal, and then the western side of the state stays a little bit wetter than normal. Getting into our November, December, January timeframe, this is going to be the start and kind of the midpoint of our winter. Most of South Dakota is very much above average for the amount of precip that we do get. And then we move into December, January, February, very much above average. And our January, February, March, we are also very much above average, especially there along the border between Nebraska and South Dakota, there in the western side of the state. We're going to be above average with our precipitation for that. One thing I did want to point out here is this is the version of a La Nina winter. This is a strong La Nina winter. This is a complete La Nina winter. As you guys can see here, cooler here in the north, wetter here in the Pacific Northwest, drier here in the south, warmer into the southeast here, and then wetter across the central states. Now, this is all of the things that we just watched in those precip and the temperature outlooks there on our last little deal that we did here with our weather outlooks here. So we had that wetter conditions out here. We had the cooler conditions up here in the north. We also did have that warmer spot down here in the south. Like I was saying, if you want to go on vacation, Florida is definitely the place to do it this summer, or this winter, apologies. Definitely not summer. And then drier here in the southwest. So that is kind of a look at what it looks like here, just laid out on a map, nice and easy with simple graphics here, without all of the nonsense that I just showed you. But that jet stream is our main point of contention here. Is it going to be across like this, or is it going to be up and then down? And that's one of the things with a weaker La Nina that we're going to be watching, is if that ridge sets up to go up and over and pump all of that cold air and all of those winter systems onto us. One of the things I also wanted to show you guys was our average snowfall. The average snowfall in parts of the United States, we average between 25 to 50 inches here in the South Dakota area. There is also a point of contention over here towards Rapid City. Lead, Deadwood, I'm not even going to talk about it. You guys get so much snow, and it's such a small place on the map that I couldn't really fit it. So you guys definitely get a lot more snow than you are credited in the 25 to 50 inch mark, but yes, we get that 25 to 50 inches here in the South Dakota area. Oh, pretty much on average between the 1990s into 2020, and that's what we base it off of because we don't have a large enough data set over the past 5 years to kind of add it in onto this map. So why am I showing you this? Well, this helps us tell how much above average or below average is our snowfall going to be this year. Now, I'm not going to give you guys a main total here because that would just be lying. I could pinpoint a good guesstimate, but I don't want to tell you guys a specific number because that would just be harsh here. But first, before we do that, we're going to look at our winter forecast for everybody. Polar vortex above average snow for the plains and into the Midwest. Just to the south of that, cold and snow around right above average, and then the Pacific Northwest into parts of Colorado and then into New Mexico there, average snow. Warmer and drier there in the west. It's going to be a bit colder with a chance of snow in parts of Texas and then in parts of Georgia and Mississippi and Alabama, and then also into South Carolina. Not into Florida, I do not believe, but Florida is going to be a bit on the colder side in terms of averages, cumulative across the whole year. So, wintry mix central. That is another weird thing that we have to deal with here. With all of those snowstorms and all of those polar vortexes that dip down to the south, we're going to be having a battle between that warm air to the south and then that cold air to the north. And that's kind of your borderline there, the Oklahoma, parts of western Tennessee and Kentucky, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama there, and then also parts of southern Missouri and Arkansas there for wintry mix central. I do believe that they're going to get snow, but majority of their main winter storms are going to be more wintry mix than anything. So, and then also that warmer and drier, like I was saying earlier, over there on the southwestern part of the United States. Then in the northeast, nor'easters might be a very big thing this year. Snowstorms for the northeast is going to be the main story for them this winter. So I am going to pull up our winter snowfall forecast for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video so far. But here is our forecast for you guys. All of that pink above normal snow. I do believe that here in the South Dakota area, we are going to be getting way more snow than we got last year. We're going to be getting above normal amounts of snow. You guys do know that the Sioux Falls area averages between 40 and 45 inches of snow every year over the past 75 years, I believe, is that data set. So I do believe this winter we will be getting above 45 inches of snow. Along with this blue area, this will be a little bit above normal, and then it just ticks down as you get towards the western parts of the United States. Over there in the western parts of the United States, they're definitely going to be below normal there for temperatures and for the snowfall amount there. They're not going to be below normal for temperatures. That came out a little bit wrong, but they're going to be below normal for snowfall amounts up there in the mountains at least, and then in parts of the higher elevations in Nevada and in Arizona, and then in Utah as well. but majority of the United States are going to be above normal for that snowfall forecast for the eastern parts of the United States. Definitely not above normal over there in Florida, because I mean, Key West is like every 1,000 years they get snow, but that's the very southern tip of the United States, but at least the lower 48. So, as you guys can see there, that pink is our above normal tab, and then that gray over there on the west coast there is the below normal. So, that is pretty much all I got for you guys right now. I am going to be updating this forecast as we continue to go throughout our winter. I will also be making a video at the end of the year to see if I was completely wrong or if our forecast verified. This is all the data I have to go on, so I tried to make it as best as I can. I also do apologize if it kind of came out jumbled. I'm still getting used to these longer term forecast videos. I mean, we're almost at 30 minutes right now for this winter forecast video. So I thank you all. If you did watch to the end, thank you so much for watching today's video. And I do hope for all you snow lovers out there that this forecast does come true, because I do love myself some snow. And we need a change of scenery a little bit every once in a while. And then also, all of you kids out there, if you guys are watching, all those snow days that you'll have to make up at the end of the year. So, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys on Thursday for your regularly scheduled program of the weather forecast.